Hello, I'm playing Ecstatica, a game. If you don't know what Ecstatica is, well, it's a survival horror game with tank controls, much like Alone in the Dark. But what's very different is how characters are rendered, as this one uses circles instead of polygons. While it might make you look a little goofy, it allowed the game to have more complex animation than you would see at the time. The idea for this playthrough was to see how fast I could beat the game. This time around I'm using the Windows version instead of the DOS one, which is basically the same thing, but its resolution is 640 by 480, which means it has about 4 times the pixels as the original, and it makes it easier to see certain smaller objects. The game's story is that you're a random person that arrived at the town of Tirik looking for supplies, but you find that the place is overrun by demons, so now you have to deal with them if you want to leave or left, because the bridge will collapse if you try to backtrack. If you are stuck or trying to beat the game fast too, then you could use this as a reference. And on the speed matter, you should know that the game has a peeing mechanic, which actually makes it the oldest game I played that has one. But the important part is that I think that only the male character has it, so it might make sense to use the girl to have one less thing to worry about. But I'll talk more about this later. I did a few runs before this one to try to find what I could skip, and I think everything I do here is necessary. Do note that some things can be done out of order, but I was starting with the potion. And the potion was something I tried to skip as well, because the point of the potion is to get to the knight to get his sword. But there's another path to the knight going through the monastery, and you need to go to the monastery for another item. But if you try to use this path without getting the potion first, you will be hit in an unavoidable cutscene, so the game makes sure you don't skip the potion. For the potion, you need the effigy that I already grabbed, a flower, and a plant. I pick up a sword to defend myself, but because your inventory is your hands, by not grabbing the sword, you could pick up 2 potion items at once, saving some time. But I prefer to be ready to fight enemies if I need to. In the same room with the sword, there is an armor you can wear, but this is a noob trap, as the armor will slow your walk and even your attack, so you won't be able to attack or run away with it. If you're trying to save time, you should see if escape is possible instead of engaging in combat. There are 2 enemies that you don't even need to think about killing. One of them is the little trolls, as they can't bother you outside cutscenes, and the other one is a werewolf, who will be chasing you around the map. The problem with the werewolf is that it has so much health that it will take more time to kill him than it would save. You can attack him because hitting him a few times will make him backtrack, so he will leave you alone for a little while he heals, because he and you heal over time. While the game has no HUD showing you your health, you can have a rough idea about your character's health based on their animations. If you're hurt badly, you can try going to the barn. I didn't use it much, but I also didn't see enemies follow me there while using the hay bed, so you could try that. The store has the plant that we need, but the werewolf is there, so I enter and leave to get him to come out before entering again. Be mindful that after you enter the storage room, so will the werewolf. He will enter right behind you, even if you know that he was far away. But if you enter the barrel fast enough, the werewolf will leave peacefully. Sadly, in this round, I took too long, so I wasted my time. If you do it properly, you avoid having to deal with the werewolves and you get an extra animation of him smelling a flower. If you wanted to do some optional content, then know that there is a little girl in the town looking for her teddy bear. If you have been paying attention, you might have noticed one in Ecstatica's house. That's the plushie she's looking for. If you give her the teddy bear, she will lead you under the church and open a secret path that leads you to the demon. But when I tried to use it in a previous playthrough, the character ended up just running away scared. Probably because I didn't yet have the weapon needed to beat the demon, so you can use it to skip sequences in the game anyway. Also, besides the teddy bear, there's a diary that gives you a rough idea of Ecstatica's doings before this mess. And this is one of those troll animations I was talking about. As far as I know, you can do anything to avoid this altogether. I would say I live about a third of the town and explore, because there's nothing important there and I would just be risking fighting more enemies and triggering more cutscenes. But if you want to do some optional stuff, in one of the buildings you'll find some guy fighting a wyvern. If you carry him to the store, he will give you some more background information. And talking about fights, even though I didn't kill them in this run, you might want to kill the minotaurs. There are two of them, one is brown and the other one is kind of red. The brown one is easy to avoid because it walks slowly, but it has a cutscene tied to it, and if you're following my route, you're going to be hit by that cutscene. And talking about cutscenes, check this one. I had seen this about a half dozen times before, but this was the first time that the werewolf was right behind me. And I was surprised to see that he too was affected by it. And back to the minotaurs. Okay, so by killing the brown minotaur before the cutscene triggers, you can avoid it. Meanwhile, the reddish one is the fastest enemy in the game, so you will have a hard time outrunning him.
Oh, a magical formula.
Remember that I told you to ignore the trolls because they are harmless? Well, that's not the case when you take the potion. You get turned into some sort of weasel, and in that state, you are vulnerable. But just don't wander around, and it won't last long. The potion will wear off when it accomplishes its purpose. You just have to go under the church and take the small passageway. After you do that, you will be back to normal. Soon you will see one of the bugs I encountered in the Windows version. You will see that the dialogue of certain NPCs kind of overlaps, which didn't happen in the DOS version. But this animation playing twice does also happen in the DOS version, and it happens with both characters.
Oh, What can I do? Oh, dear. Do not approach me, you! Do not hurt me! This is what you want! Please, do not harm me! Please, do not harm me!
The other bug is that when you pick up a weapon with your left hand, your character is supposed to move it to the right hand if that hand was empty. But sometimes in the Windows version, they don't switch the weapon. With the sword, we can be knighted at the lake, but it makes sense to first grab the Bible before leaving town.
There's nothing here.
There's nothing to talk about for a while, so it's a good opportunity to bring the peeing mechanic. There are at least 2 pissing spots in the game, and I will note one of them later. These spots won't be active until you have some progress in the game, or maybe when you have played for some time. And at first I thought that you couldn't avoid them as long as you kept going through those parts of the map. But if you don't get too close to the specific spot, it won't trigger. In my defense, the game has time controls and no strafing, so you wouldn't usually look to change your direction if it wasn't absolutely necessary. Anyway, as I said, there are some invisible requirements for these animations to happen besides getting close. And for this reason, I can't guarantee that the girl doesn't have them. Maybe it has been a matter of luck. Maybe hers are in a different location. I personally think that they found it troublesome to make a unique animation for her, so they just cut it out completely. But that's enough peace talk for now. I'll let the fairy talk.
By the gods of old and their mighty powers, I grant you the honor to become Knight of Tirik. You shall swear to devote your life to protect this land and its people. Go now, Knight of Tirik. Be my champion.
I think this sword lake stuff might be a reversal of one of the Excalibur stories, where the Lady of the Lake gives Arthur the sword, while here it's taken from us, which is quite inconvenient as we still need to kill another enemy. You could go back to the town to grab your other sword, but I'm going with my punches. Oh, and by the way, if you wanted to know how you were supposed to figure out the fairy stuff, you can learn about it from one of the characters in the monastery. To defeat the demon, we need the relic and the magic book. This is something the Circle of Stones tell you, and you can also find it at the top of the wizard's tower. First, we're going for the relic, which is inside the monastery. Bear in mind that after you grab it, they will close the gate, so you will have to leave through another path.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen?
But, my God, a fellow worshipper, come on in at once, open the gates. Welcome within these walls, my lord. You have nothing to fear here. We managed with God and these big doors to
there's
keep
nothing
all
here.
the mayhem at bay. Hey! You can't touch that holy relic. This sacrilege won't go unpunished.
Now, the magic book is beneath the wizard's tower, and now that we are a knight, we can talk with him. Otherwise, he would turn you into a frog.
Please, do not harm me. Do not hurt me.
Next comes the Minotaur cutscene I talked about. As I say, This could have been avoided if I killed him before, and I could also avoid it by taking the long route to the Circle of Stones by going through the lake, but then I run the risk of meeting the Red Minotaur, so I'll just eat this one. A lot of ambushes will make your character drop their inventory. The camera angle and the environment might hide them, but they should be in the same place where you were. That ambush isn't the only risk there, as it is also one of the pissing spots I had mentioned, and if you meet the invisible requirements and get too close to the shrub on the right, it will trigger, which means that if you don't get too close, you can prevent it from activating. You need to walk slowly while crossing this gate, otherwise you will get killed. As I said before, if you try to meet the wizard without being a knight, you will return into a frog. As we are, we can go explore under his tower, but first, before we go down there, I will go pick up the magic broom. And the magic broom is in the same place where you would return back to human if you had been turned into a frog with that kissing girl.
Come to me. Let me kiss you.
There's nothing here.
Nice little frog.
There's nothing here.
If you go upstairs, you will find a monster and a graphic showing you the relic and magic book that you need. There's nothing else there, so there's no reason for me to go. I'd like to kill this statue, so it won't bother me when I come back. But you should skip the gladiators that come next, because they will disappear when you return. The next set of stairs is why you need the broom. Without it, you are going to trigger a spike that will kill you. You see that skeleton case? There's another one in front of it, but it's hidden in this camera angle. One of them contains an armor that, unlike the one from town, won't slow you down, so there are no drawbacks from wearing it.
I bet you've come for the demon, haven't you? Follow me, I'll show you something.
There's nothing here.
See that big head there? Behind is the demon.
That thing I grabbed when I left the magic broom is a magic book, by the way. I didn't let the critter finish, but it was going to say that for us to meet the demon, we need to first meet the king. The king is currently both dead and asleep, and for him to wake up, we will have to defeat our doppelganger. The neat thing about the doppelganger is that it actually has a different moveset from ours. After the doppelganger is dead, you need to wait a bit for the king to speak before leaving. Otherwise, the game might not count it.
What's up? I must have dozed off for a bit.
But there's nothing here.
But who do I see here? One of my knights come forward, my friend, to greet. Oh, you have my pity.
Now that we have the magic book and that we stole the relic, we can bring them to the Circle of Stones to challenge the demon. Because I don't have anything to talk about for a while, I'm going to mention something I noticed while recording these lines. It hasn't spent much time on the screen, but there's a king statue, and this is the last time I'm talking about peace, at least for this video. There is a statue close to the lake that I think it's meant to represent Cupid, because it's a kid and it has a bow, and that's often a representation of Cupid. Well, in the same building where you can rescue the guy that needs help, there is an arrow, and I suppose that if you were to bring that arrow to the Cupid statue, there will be some sort of interaction. But I guess that's up to you to find out, if you are curious.
Hold on. Keep it down. All right, shut up. Look at those little flowers over there. Look at them little, yeah, shut up. You stupid idiots. You need to get personal about things, is there or no?
Now we have everything that we need. Bear in mind that the game has 2 attack buttons. With a normal weapon, that would be 2 different kind of swings. But with the relic, one of them is a swing and the other one casts a fireball or a fire beam. And only the fire one affects the demon. At this point, I've basically beaten the game. I just need to kill or surrender to the demon, because that's also an option. So I wanted to give some of my general thoughts on the game in the meantime. I already mentioned that I like the animations in this game, but I also found it interesting that you don't really need explicit interaction for a lot of things in this game. You don't use a menu either. For example, to make the potion and the weapon, you don't actually press a button. You just get close and the game will do the rest. When checking out the information about the potion, you also just need to get close. For characters to interact with you, you also don't need to speak to them. They will interact with you by themselves. To surrender to the demon, you also don't press a button in a menu. And because you don't have 50 items in your pocket and there aren't healing items, you don't have to sort through that stuff. And all of these combined mean that there's a lot less guesswork involved in progressing through the game. Not only that, but you also get a lot of information on what to do next just by exploring the map. Sure, there are a few things like bringing the Bible to the monastery and going from frog to human that might require some cultural context, but that isn't so bad, especially for the kind of stuff that you can find in all games. The only thing I find unfair is that there is another path that leads under the wizard's tower that triggers a death spike. Oh, by the way, that suspended floating gear is Ecstatica. Anyway, there's another death spike that triggers with and without the magic room, and if you find that one first, you might think the one from the stairs is going to work the same way and that you can't get past.
The coming of... So, I have heard so much about you lately, but you must be thirsty. Waiter, you see, I love to entertain my guests to the best of my means. Yes, a good year this bottle, but let me introduce myself. I am the Lord Demon, Devil, creature of the abyss,
and evil wanderer of the hells of this world. All at your dear knight. I have a proposition for you. As you may have understood already, I am indestructible. The world itself and your fellow beings are the reason for my very existence. But enough of philosophical comments. I am, in a word, perfect. Yet I have a kind heart, and I will offer you an eternal life of pleasure if you agree to give me this worthless bone you have in your possession.
The funny part about that sketchy proposition is that the demon actually keeps his word.
You cannot leave without an answer. I will destroy you.
The game is now over, but here you can see what happens if I surrender by dropping the relic.
No, no, no.
Yes. Now I have you in my power, but I will not be unkind. Follow me. Be my guest. All this is yours. Now and forever.
And now it's over again. You can now stop the video. But I'll ramble for a bit more. I find it amusing that I find some sort of moral dilemma in the ending, and I don't even think that it was on purpose. Obviously, the good ending is to go and conquer the evil, rescue the girl, and, become a hero and all that. Oh, and by the way, both characters get the same endings. But when you think about it, the girl that we're rescuing is the one that caused this mess, which ended with most of the town being killed. And you saw her house. She even steals teddy bears from little girls. In the end, what little we know about Ecstatica is negative. And do we owe anything to the town? We just happened to stop by and get tangled. But it's not like we knew anyone there. And now we're going against the boss of all the creatures we fought. There are reasons to think that it is going to be the hardest fight in the game. So we're risking our life. And for what? So I wouldn't say that the would-be hero is a bad person if they take the deal. As you are trading, risking your life to save Ecstatica, teaches self-preservation and a reward. I think that the only person in the setting that deserves some compassion is the little girl. However, the game portrays her as the most capable human in the story, and she's shown outsmarting the werewolves. As she moves around town with ease, I think she will be fine even without my help. And there you have it, my ramble is over. Have a nice one.
There's nothing here.